Hello, friends. How are you doing today? And after a substantial long time, I'm joining you today. And today we are discussing yet another episode of the Great War in Indian subcontinent, because these were the war which created a shift in the scenario, in the culture, in the tradition, and the political arena. And today I'm talking about one of the greatest empire of the world, and that is called Chola Empire. Now, today I am discussing how the Chola Empire from Indian subcontinent, there was a war which is waged to Sri Lanka. That is the first war between Cholas and Sri Lankan Empire. So it is in the 10th century, the Indian Ocean bore definitely clashes that will reshape the destiny of Sri Lanka. On the other side, the mighty Chola Empire, led by visionary Rajaraja Chola I, surged across the sea with the imperial ambition. On the other side, the ancient and sacred kingdom. Definitely, Sri Lanka, we are, if we really see with a magnifying glass, I think there are a lot of similarities in Sri Lankan culture and, of course, southern Indian kingdoms. So I was just telling you on the other side, the ancient and sacred kingdom of Anuradhapura, who actually, which was into, we can safely say that was Buddhist heritage, and that endured over millennium. So Buddhists were deeply rooted, that the religion and the culture deeply rooted in Sri Lanka. And but when there was a clash, the whole scenario of Sri Lanka actually stood vulnerable against the rising tide of the conquest. So just going forward, in 993 CE was not when we talk about Cholas, the great mighty Cholas, and Sri Lanka Empire. So when we talk about the military campaign, it was not just a military campaign. It was a titanic shift in South Asian history. The Chola forces overran Anuradhapura, plundered its treasure, raided the city that had been the center of religion, art, and learning since the 4th century. When there was a symbolic destruction also of the kingdom, that not only created a destruction for that say, but it was also a message that there is a rise of a very powerful empire which is beyond Indian boundaries. And this is how it was a rewrite of map and its influence during this war. In this place, the Punurava, one of the minor Sinhalese outposts, was transferred into Chola's administrative capital, marking the rise of Tamil governance on the island. This shift is a power set in motion, new architectural style, and cultural exchange and administrative reform that actually in a longer run, even today, we can see the Sri Lankan civilization, the influence on Sri Lankan civilization. When we talk about not only in this context, but in general, when we talk about Cholas, their mesmerizing architectural upliftment or styles, it is actually something to actually witness and admire, that they are very good architectural kingdom. They have done enhancement in architectural reform. So yes, so there was definitely a resistance which was brewing deep in the southern forest. Prince Kaspa, son of Mahindra V, became the face of Sinhalese. They fought against the rise of Cholas, and they evaded the capture, fueling uprising that would one day restore the indigenous rule. So all that definitely remains a part of any shift or any conquest in that matter. The So first Tamil, it is definitely, we are discussing the first Tamil and Sri Lankan war, and it was a battle to really study, a battle where there was a surge of Indian culture, Indian empire, and above all the uprise or we can say the rise of Chola. That is a significant event when we talk about Chola as an entity, as an empire. So, when we going forward, though both capitals, both kingdoms are imperial capital, but there was a clash, steel clashing with the stone. When we read the stone inscription, and there is definitely a lot of details which is being discussed. The Chola victory marks a golden age in Tamil expansion, and when we talk about Sri Lanka, and that too about Anuradhapura, that would, though they got defeated, but somehow the soul of that culture even echoes a little later. We can talk about Anuradhapura's monuments and the culture and tradition. So going forward, so what are the long-term impact of Chola rule on Sri Lanka? That's very, very interesting and very, very profound topic to discuss. First is political shift, that is definitely there, and the Chola destroyed Anuradhapura, which is a millennial capital, and established Polo Narva as new administrative center. The shift was set as one of the rising, or maybe a foot where you can say it is kind of a very special victory when we talk about this shift. And there was definitely interaction of Singhali and Buddhist architecture. Somehow they were able to restore it, but very vividly it was seen the Chola impact, administrative impact, and architectural impact, and of course somehow some traditions were also influenced during this this rise. The Tamil style shrine and Hindu deities appear more prominently in Sri Lanka, especially at Trikomili and Punarva. These are the power center earlier at Sri Lanka. Then there was administrative innovation, and the Chola governance brought more centralized bureaucracy, land record system, temple-based economy. So if you really want to understand the temple-based economy, that was very, very prevalent in southern India, and that is another very interesting topic to discuss about. Then there was also a system which influenced the local administrative, and they were later also adopted by Singhali's ruler to organize taxation and civic affairs. A part of this, there was a cultural exchange which is very deep rooted, and there was we can say it's kind of a Tamil imprint into the island, Sri Lanka, and their culture. The Tamil language and the literature tradition gained strong foothold, especially in northern and eastern Sri Lanka. The element of Tamil cuisine, craft, custom actually entered and contributed to a layered cultural identity of Sri Lanka. So that is something which is very profound, and it is interesting if you really study deeper. The seed of resistance, how things are actually materialized for this first war between Tamil or maybe Cholas and Sri Lanka. The Chola presence galvanized Singhali's resistance, notably from Prince Katspa and later Vijay Bahu first, who expelled the Chola by 1070. And these resistance movements shaped the ideologies of Singhala nationalism, which would re-emerge again and again for some period. How these impact and manifested in modern India culture, you know very well. about that. So now we are discussing about the Chola legacy. The Chola legacy in Sri Lanka may be stretched back over 1,000 years, but it ripples still echo through many faces, many cultures, many traditions of island, and even in the modern culture. So let's discuss a little further about the impact and how they endured all these combination of these two cultures and how they evolved. So first is, as we have mentioned earlier, the temple tradition and architectures. So Hindu temple with Dravidian architecture features like towers, gopuram, intricate stone carving, and remain prominent during this era and even later. So especially in northern and eastern province of Sri Lanka. So Chola influence helped institutionalized temple-centric economies and temple-centric cultures and traditions. So that is one of the very prominent impact of this war. Then another impact which we can discuss and go and read really profoundly and deeply, that is language and literature. Tamil already present before Chola, everybody knows that, but that become deeply embedded into administration, and even today it is one of the Sri Lanka's two official language widely spoken by Sri Lankan population. So the seeds actually were started during this campaign and this war. So then these are literary traditions, Chola era, Tamilian classic festival often were organized, and there was recitation of ancient epic. So that is how the maintaining of linguistic heritage, and even today that is being actually discussed. You can find the combination of these two cultures and tradition, and especially the enhancement of language. Then there was introduction of new festivals and customs by Cholas in this island country. So Chola ruled during they actually organized Hindi rituals, their customs, and even today we find Sri Lankans are celebrating, especially the Tamil majority in that region, celebrate the Hindu festival and they follow the Hindu tradition. Thai Passam and Navaratri and Deepavali are celebrated with really very pomp and shows and cultural flares, and that is how the blending of two cultures being done. The Sri Lankan element and Tamil tradition actually has combined really very well. And sometimes it's very difficult to really identify which one is the Tamil and which one is Chola tradition, or for that matter, Hindu festivals. There was also the rise of historical consciousness and identity, because there was a destruction of Anuradhapura, and the rise of Polanavara remains the pivotal point in Sri Lankan historical narratives, and taught in school reflects the national memory and want to revive those cultures. So that is something which again and again reflected in Sri Lankan history. Some Sinhalese nationalist actually discourse refers Chola occupation as a formative resistant chapter. So, but that is how things, and this is how, because in any case there is some identify politically and put those ancient tradition in the mainstream. It sometimes becomes essential. So this is the way things are moving. But this point goes without question, that the Cholas influence, the Cholas administrative, Cholas architectural and tradition impact and influence on Sri Lanka is immense. So going forward, there's an art and music ritual element. So everybody knows the Carnatic music, which is kind of spiritual music, and that was actually introduced, and it was actually developed also. Then there's stone and bronze sculptures and dance form, which actually became very, very prominent, very, very popular. And for one dance form, which is Bharatnatyam, we find these influence not only in Indian boundaries, but also in Tamil Sri Lankan culture. So that resemblance is very profound and very deep rooted. So why now the question we have discussed about the influence of this war, which was immense, and it was kind of intermingling of both the cultures, and then giving rise to a kind of indigenous culture, which is combination of Chola tradition and all customs, along with the Sinhalese custom and tradition. And so that is really we really find those impression even today. But why historical this war is significant? So first of all, there was a collapse of a kingdom which was on flourishing from 4th century, one of the oldest, and it was continuously habitated from 4th century. So that was destroyed in 1993. So that is one of the reason, and we that is a significance, because there's the end of one kingdom, one empire. Then the fall marked the end of because the Sinhalese rule, if we say it was a long stretch of Sinhalese rule, so that becomes historical significant for people to know that how things have changed, and how there was the city or the place, the Sri Lanka, especially the Anandpura, there was the end of a Buddhist architecture, and that Buddhist architecture is replaced by Chola's urban planning. So that is one of the major aspect of this war. Then Cholas actually installed a new administrative capital. So that is again converting one place, that is Polonava into administrative capital, and from there were so many strategic decisions were taken, and that became full-fledged center of governance. So that is again one difference or one outcome of this war. There was a shift of influence on the Sinhalese, and there was expansion of Chola Empire, not only politically but economically, architecturally, culturally, even language with language also. And this is how Chola actually become a formidable naval imperial power in Indian Ocean. So that is one of the very prominent, though it is a first step, but it was a very prominent. It was so in a larger, if you through a larger picture, there was influence of Chola to other countries also after this war, something like Indonesia, which actually influenced by Chola cultures, and we still find the traces of Chola traditions in these countries, especially east south countries, which is beyond Sri Lanka. Now there was a cultural exchange which is very profound, and we have already discussed about the temple culture, which was also introduced there. So the Chola actually become, this is a strategic, after winning the Sri Lankan war, this actually became a strategic location for Chola kingdom. And they are able to become naval dominance in that area. So that is something which is the impact of this war. And their campaign in Southeast Asia actually disrupted by Sri Vijaya, and turned the Bay of Bengal into Chola Lake. So that kind of influence was able to establish by this war. Though we should be discussing and we should be actually admiring the Anuradhapura kingdom because they are less expansionist, and that is why their strategic importance actually lay only on cultural and religious center of development. So that is one of the cause. That's why they were defeated by Chola. But even after the victory of Chola and after consolidating power, Chola consolidated their power in Sri Lanka. This especially these few areas of Sri Lanka, they became a spiritual hub even during Chola's time. And then there was a rise of some scientific know-how which was introduced into Sri Lanka, that is irrigation system, urban planning, and also sustaining some governance in Sri Lanka, which was not earlier, it was not prevalent, because it was always was a cultural and spiritual center for a longer time. Now, one major aspect of this particular war is the rise of a naval control of Chola kingdom. So after the Sri Lankan war, there was influence, and they were able to, Chola Empire, able to control Maldives, Southeast Asia. So that is something which is a plus point of this war, and somehow these points added in Chola's administration and Chola kingdom to become one of the most powerful empire of the world. And we have to somehow give credit to Anuradhapura kingdom also, because they, as I discussed, they were more spiritual and culture center, but they are able to actually control, and they are able to sustain the internal stability due to these rise of cultural activities in Anuradhapura. So lastly, we would definitely want to discuss the how the economic enhancement is done by during Chola kingdom, and this war actually activated or enhanced the Chola trade.